Hey everybody, it's great to see everybody joining us here today. I'm Laura Stewart and good morning, good afternoon and evening and welcome everybody. It's so excited to have you all here for this wonderful webinar by LogMeIn on identity and access management. I am a former MSP and an iHeartRadio host and the director of online channel events for SaaSmax, and it is a joy to be here with you today. I love the topic that we're going to be doing an under a hood deep dive on. Well, not quite deep, but enough of a dive to give you an idea of why you need to have a conversation with the folks at LogMeIn. Security being what it is nowadays in this world today, these products to me are some of the best. And if I still had my MSP, I would definitely be getting an in-depth call with the folks at LogMeIn. Identity and access management is such a critical component to protecting your data and your client's data every single moment of every single day. So let's get right into it. And I want to introduce Janae Gargano. And Janae is going to take over and run the rest of this webinar. If you have any questions or comments, please type them in the question pane and I will be monitoring all of that so Janae can do all of her brilliance and get you going with the webinar. Janae?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. Appreciate it. Let me go ahead and get to my slides here.
And you should have control now, so you should be able to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. As Laura mentioned, my name is Janae. I handle operations for the LogMeIn Channel Partner Program. So at some point as a partner through your partner cycle, onboarding and submitting leads and helping us sell products to your clients, you'll probably most likely work with me at some point. But we're going to give you a lot of information. It's going to be quick, but enough to be dangerous. Identify some opportunities within your client base, and then we'll talk about next steps and how you get paid, which is the most important to you. So quick agenda, we've got two products, as Laura mentioned, that we're talking about here. Identity and access management is inclusive of a lot of things, but we're going to focus today on Central and LastPass, both of which work really well together as well. We've got why clients buy our LastPass LogMeIn product and Central, and then highlights of the IAM suite. We'll go through the sales model, how you submit leads, and how you get paid, and then how to get started with next steps. So like I said, my name is Janae Gargano, Channel Ops Manager for North America. And then we've got Felipe. Do you want to introduce yourself, Felipe?
Hello, everyone. So yeah, I'm Felipe. I work as a senior solutions consultant here at LogMeIn. Been here for 3.5 years. So I'm going to help you today getting to know LogMeIn Central.
And then we've got Lou.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Lou DeLillo here. I'm also on Felipe's team here in LogMeIn as a senior solutions consultant. I specialize in LastPass. So I'll be taking us through that part of the conversation today, talking about enterprise password management and why that's so important.
Awesome. We've got a great team here. You've got amazing specialists that know our products inside and out, so great opportunity for you to learn from them. Just 2 points before I hand it over to Felipe. If you have any questions that come up while the presentation is going on, feel free to throw those into the question box and Laura will gather those and then we'll address them at the end as we can. And then just as you're listening to their product lineups, we have a really compelling story and we're really proud of our partner program for LogMeIn, just because although we're focusing on Central and LastPass today, we have over 16 products. So we might get in the door with LastPass or Central, but there's so many other things that you can talk about to your clients, which leads to an ongoing conversation opportunity for you to make money and help your clients to run their business the best way that they can. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Felipe and give you presenter rights here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I'll jump off camera as well.
All right, just give me 1 second. All right, so just talk a little bit about, what is the problem we're trying to solve with Central, and also talk a little about the functionality, and it can give you a little glimpse of, how the solution works in real time, right? So they'll like a little short demo. So the problem we're trying to solve is that most companies, and we're talking here mostly about MSPs, but also internal IT support departments have some similar issues, right? And a lot of people come looking for a remote access solution so they can help fix specific problems, but not a lot of people know that LogMeIn Central can do much more than the solution we used to sell, let's say 8 years ago when we started as LogMeIn, right? So now we have issues with, travel costs, which is something that is directly solved by remote access. We have something like disruptive support sessions. Every time I take control of keyboard and mouse, I interrupt someone. There's a better way to do it, what we call background access. That's something we can offer as well. The other issue is, what if I need to control multiple machines, right? So I need to automate and mass manage machines. LogMeIn Central is also a solution capable of doing that. So it's not only one-to-one support, okay? We also deal with reactive support, right? So we're just answering tickets all day as opposed to anticipating them and trying to fix them before they impact our operation. So also an area that we can help with our monitoring and alerts capabilities, okay? And at the end of the day, we also have more recently a lot in the media security threats happening all the time. Most of the security threats are usually fixed by issuing patches, right? So we're talking about operating system, Windows, and we're talking about third-party applications. Central can also help you managing when, getting alerts when there's a new application update or Windows, and also give you a view of the whole company or whole customers and how they are updated if they need important updates, and how can we do this in an efficient manner, right? Because now I have to download and apply patches to everyone, so we can help you doing that as well through LogMeIn Central. Okay. At the end of the day, all this functionality helps consolidate. So that's another big problem. Companies usually have a specific specialized tool for dealing with each of these problems. With Central, you have, an economy because you're paying for a single vendor, but also simplicity of dealing with a single interface, okay? So those are most of the common problems that we're gonna solve with our solution. We really kind of talked a little bit about a little bit of the functionality, or just talking about the problem. What was important for you to know is that we kind of packaged this in a base version that has the basic access solution where you can remotely access a machine, but also do background access. And then we kind of have the other features organized in 3 different modules, right? Security module is gonna help you keeping applications updated. Also, we do antivirus management. Even if you use third-party vendors, we can help you managing this antivirus systems, checking if there is any threat there, any update that needs to be done. All of this is within the security module. And one thing also important to know is that we also offer our own version of antivirus. So more consolidation, more economy in terms of cost, right? Automation module is gonna be all the mass management aspect. We're gonna be able to deploy applications en masse. We're gonna update applications. I can run a specific maintenance script, maybe to clear specific folders. All of that is included in the automation. Okay. Insight is gonna be a little bit more about doing, for example, inventory, right? A lot of companies need to know what software is installed on the machines of my customers, if you're MMSP, or my own employees, if you are internal IT department. So Insight is going to give you much of the reporting, but also alerts, which is a capability that allows you to be more proactive. With alerts, we're going to have a situation where we can set up a machine to fire an alert every time we're running out of disk space. You might be able to monitor servers too, and knowing when the CPU is close to its limit for too long, right, for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And this allows you to anticipate a problem before it impacts your organization. You can fix the problem, and you still have reporting of all those incidents. So maybe you want to generate a report for your customer saying that you had anticipated these issues because you're doing active monitoring, right? So very important. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on this slide because I want to show you the actual solution, and we're gonna dive in a little bit of each of those modules here. Okay. So at the end of the day, I think if you want to summarize the message and why would you recommend the solution, it's about consolidation, mass automation. A lot of our competitors lack that. You can reduce user downtime by using background access, able to fix problems without taking complete control of their machine. Decrease travel, that's a benefit of just having a solution that allows you to access any machine wherever you are in the world, right? We don't require a local network, it's all through the internet. Improve security, talking about antivirus aspect, antivirus management, and also patching capabilities. Intuitive interface, it's very easy to use our solution. It has an updated interface, fresh, you don't need too much of a manual to figure out how to use it. And proactive support, talking about our alerts and monitoring capabilities. So this is the main kind of message we want to give to people that might be looking to solve those problems that we talked about at the end of the day. And lastly, we have here a couple questions that can help you identifying an opportunity, a sales opportunity for LogMeIn Central, right? So if you answer, you need to ask all these questions. Those are a couple suggestions, but if you ask these questions, there's a good chance that you know that LogMeIn Central is a good fit for this customer, or maybe not. Maybe we're talking about a different solution, right? So for example, I'm gonna go over just a couple of them. How important is to minimize user interruptions, right? For a lot of people, that's very important, and that's something we can do with background access. How proactive is support today? Are you just like putting out fires, or are you anticipating issues, right? Alerts is going to allow the company to be more proactive. It is very rarely that a support department is not putting out fires, because that's a reality, but we want to diminish the amount of fires we have to put out. What do you do in regard to viruses today, right? You might have an antivirus solution in place, and there's no problem. We can work with it and help you centralize management. But also, if you already have a vendor and your contract is going to expire soon, the next 6 months, for example, we might be a great candidate to use our own antivirus, right, and save some more costs. So that's something we can do as well. Automate task. A lot of companies seek us to do remote support to fix specific issues. But when I ask them, what do you do when you need to deploy an application or a patch to, 50 machines? What do you do? You're going to do one. Sometimes they answer me, I do it one-to-one. So that's a great candidate to use our one-to-many capability and be able to deploy tasks throughout many different computers. So those are a couple of the questions. I'm not going to go over all of the questions, but you're probably gonna have this slide later to consult and keep those questions for yourself, so you can explore a little bit more. So right now, let's talk a little bit about the capabilities. Just glance over, it's not gonna be a deep dive demo, but you can at least see now what the dashboard looks like for a technician that's logging into the solution, right? So you can have all your technicians have access to these machines. You can segment machines. Maybe some of your technicians will be able to access a group of machines and others will not. So we have a very granular access control that allows you to do that. And just glancing at this panel, you can see many of the features working already. So for example, here you have a number of alerts that we set up for these machines. And here I have a lot of them being fired for each of those machines. I can click here and actually see what exactly is going on, what type of alert is that. Here on the antivirus section, I can see that the antivirus status, it's okay, which means there are no threats and the antivirus has the latest patches. In this machine here, you see requires immediate attention. So I can click here, dive deeper into the antivirus section and check exactly what's wrong. And the same applies for the Windows patching. We can change the behavior, how machines update, and we can also monitor if they have important patches and maybe just optional patches. Maybe the machine has applied the patches and needs to restart. So that's still going to give you an attention icon because that update is pending. Okay. From here, I can have access to do a remote control, but I can also do what we call the background access. If you click on this little house icon, and that's going to open up a connection to the computer. I already have my credentials saved, so this part is being skipped right here. And then we're going to have access to this background access panel. And that's a part of LogMeIn that a lot of people don't know. I might be able to show you the remote access, but a lot of people know how that works, but they don't know this. So this allows me to diagnose problems quickly on these machines. For example, I can see processes, I can see resources regarding hardware from the machine, and that allows me to quickly diagnose a problem without interrupting the user. And it's not only, information that I can drill down and have the full view. I also have many different tools in here, such as the command prompt, right? So a lot of technicians are very proficient with the command line. So I can issue some commands here and, have diagnose or even install applications through here, right? I can transfer a file. There's a file manager aspect, which I can launch, transfer an installer, and run the installer from this command line, update an application, and I can just go through the chat and say to the user, hey, I already solved your problem, your application, it's installed. And I didn't even interrupt the user, right? I already finished the job. So that's what background access allows you to do. All right, so this is the basic functionality, comes in the basic version. When we talk about the mass management, this is more of the automation module. So here allows you to create tasks. Those tasks are, scripts, can be batch files, common files. You can attach installers such as MSIs and executables files. And then after you create your task, it can even be PowerShell commands, which allows great versatility and part of what you can do. And after you create what you want to do, you just need to define which machines are gonna, receive this command. Can be a group of machines, can be all of them, and then you define when. It can run immediately, it runs in the background, doesn't interrupt the user, but you can still set it to run later. Maybe it's a heavy, intensive resource task, so you can ask it to run after business hours. And you can even ask it to run every Friday if it's a maintenance task that needs to run all the time. So that's the power of one-to-many, allows you to do this for multiple machines at once. The update section, we talk a little bit about how you monitor those. We already saw Windows a little bit, but let's talk about third-party applications. We have a list of applications we support. Those are popular applications such as Java, Virtual Machine, Adobe, PDF Reader, right? So those applications, they're very common. So you can see here that some machines we've detected that we have a newer version available automatically. And this version is not the latest that is installed here. What we can do is that we can just, with a single click, we can download this application for you and install on this machine or in all machines, right? I can select the whole thing and click apply updates. No matter what it was identified as requiring update, we can update that for you. So really easy to use and diminishes the vulnerability window that you give, hackers to exploit a software issue that is solved with a patch, okay? So the same applies for Windows. You can do kind of a similar behavior here. Antivirus, I talk about it. You can monitor third-party antivirus. We work with more than 100 different types and versions of antivirus. You can see here, Windows Defender. We have our own LogMeIn AV, which is our, our main feature inside this module. So you can easily send commands to multiple machines. I can run a full scan. I can force an update of virus definition. And I can even install the LogMeIn antivirus with a single click. Super easy to use. We even have policies that you can customize how aggressive you want the scan to be and how to deal with threats that are detected. But the real deal is that you have a centralized panel to control your antivirus, okay? And lastly, before I pass over to Lou, what I would focus here is that we have the alerts. And what I want to show you here is just the variety of alerts we can create, right? So when you look at this list, I can create alerts regarding disk space, CPU utilization, computer, the text of the machine goes off, right? So if a server goes off the radar, that's bad. So if that's more than a minute, I can send an email to someone and alert that person. So there's a big variety. We integrate with our own modules. So if there is an antivirus threat, we can also fire an alert here, okay? And so on. So there's many different things you can do. There's a lot of creative ways to use alerts to also self-heal themselves in the sense that you can run a script. For example, if the disk space is low, I can run a script to clean temporary files and cache files, right? So in the sense that I'm detecting a problem and I'm automatically, the system's trying to solve it through a script that you provided. So that's also possible within Central. And that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as the short demonstration goes, that's a summary of what we can do. Now, I want to pass over to Lou so he can talk a little bit about LastPass.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Felipe. Much appreciated. As Felipe said, and as Janae alluded to, I'll be taking us through looking at LastPass Enterprise, and what exactly it is that LastPass Enterprise can do for end users and for IT administrators as well. So first, I'll kind of contextualize what LastPass is. LastPass is a cloud-based password manager whose goal it is to enable and automate better password hygiene for all of the knowledge workers in an organization. And there's really two kinds of problems that LastPass hopes to address. On one end of the spectrum, we've got end users who have some challenges around passwords, right? As an example, they say the average enterprise user has somewhere between 10 to 12 passwords that they're juggling, that they're managing just to do their work on a daily basis. And modern enterprises typically have password policies that want users to make long, strong, unique passwords for all those various pages, and that gets really hard for a person to do. That's how people end up with Post-it notes on their monitor or Excel workbooks full of passwords, right? Things that keep IT security professionals up at night. So LastPass can handle that by storing all of the credentials that users would normally need to remember. We also enable that user to work from anywhere. LastPass is a universal tool. So whether I'm using a laptop, a desktop, I work from an iPad, I'm always on the road, on my phone, I can be using LastPass on all those various platforms to get to my passwords in a safe and secure way. We also help enterprises with sharing. We know that the best practice is to give everybody their own account to every service as often as you can, but we've encountered a couple of scenarios where sometimes there's nothing you can do, where there's a team that just has to share a credential because only one account exists, right? We see this a lot with IT departments that need to share things like admin account passwords, server passwords, networking infrastructure details, that sort of a thing. We also see this a lot with marketing teams, social media teams, because there's usually only one account for Twitter for the whole company or for Facebook for the whole company. And so how does the entire team have access to that credential in a way that's simple and easy for them to go about being productive and doing their jobs? On the flip side, there's obviously some friction that's engendered by any security department in an organization. The IT team is tasked with keeping the environment safe in a way that still allows users to be productive. So there's certainly plenty of scary statistics out there about poor password hygiene fueling breaches in the enterprise, reused passwords from home, weak passwords, compromised credentials, all sorts of scary stuff that can bring down enterprises. And a shocking amount of the time, even for smaller companies, breaches like that can decimate an organization, and many of them end up not recovering. So that's certainly a dimension that LastPass Enterprise hopes to address. Another thing, by virtue of the fact that passwords are going to live in LastPass, users don't need to remember any of their passwords. And of course, the number one reason that anybody is going to put in a ticket to the help desk asking for a password reset is because they've forgotten. So with LastPass, we see help desk tickets around password resets fall through the floor because users simply don't need to remember those credentials anymore. LastPass is going to do that for them. And so that precludes the need in the first place, and that those password reset tickets should drop through the floor as well. Last but not least, it can be really tricky for IT departments to keep track of what people have access to. There are, people can very easily sign up for a new service with their work email address. I can just go create a free Dropbox account or some Evernote account with my work email address and store a bunch of sensitive stuff there. And that could be totally invisible. It is totally invisible to the IT departments for those organizations. And so how can we give companies visibility on that? The answer is LastPass Enterprise's reporting can tell IT administrators precisely what kinds of things are individual users are accessing. So I know what are the tools everybody is logging into every day, but also those shared tools. I mentioned earlier, the social media team, the marketing team, collaborating, sharing those credentials with each other. It can be kind of scary to imagine that a tweet went out and any one of a dozen people might have posted it. So the inventory, or rather, excuse me, the reporting that we have in LastPass can tell administrators precisely who used which shared credentials from what IP address at what time, that sort of a thing. So that's the friction. How do we go about solving this? How do we go about addressing these problems in an enterprise capacity? You'll see again, we've split this up for what end users are getting out of that LastPass enterprise experience and what IT is really getting. So first and foremost, convenience. We quite frankly try to ensnare end users onto the platform by being the easiest way they can deal with passwords. And so part of doing that means auto-saving credentials as users go to pages and auto-filling credentials as they visit those pages a second time, a third time, what have you. So that means to get a new employee started on LastPass is pretty simple. We just tell them to get the extension installed, have the user sign into LastPass, and the rest is pretty automatic. We'll just start learning those credentials automatically, filling those credentials on subsequent visits. And then when users do need to change a password, we're going to make sure they're generating long, strong, and unique credentials. There's plenty of evidence that human beings are just not good at generating passwords in any way. So of course, we've got a generator built in to make that simple. And users can use LastPass not only to visit a page, to visit a service and autofill their credentials, but they can launch from LastPass as well. That's a really great way to help with phishing if that's a concern for an organization. A password manager like LastPass is a great tool to add to the anti-phishing toolkit of any enterprise as well, because we always know the bona fide URLs for these pages. We help with filling forms, as I alluded to, and sharing, as I mentioned, and there's access everywhere users are on iOS and Android if they're going places, if they're moving around. And on the security side, what do we offer administrators? Well, they have the peace of mind of knowing LastPass operates with a zero-knowledge security model, that not even we here at LastPass can access the contents of our users' LastPass vaults. So their vaults stay private. We do not have the ability to view their passwords or get access to their passwords. We also have all the directory integrations that modern enterprises demand as well. So we can plug into Active Directory or Azure, or integrate with ADFS or Azure AD. There's all sorts of ways we can make that part really simple, even offering single sign-on in those capacities as well. We can offer 100+ policies to administrators too. So folks who have been using LastPass personally have a lot of freedom in whether or not they want to use multi-factor, if they want to use good passwords, if they want to be able to share with anybody in the world, that kind of a thing. The policies that we give administrators help LastPass admins dial that down so we can force multi-factor for everyone in LastPass. We can limit their login locations. We can blacklist certain countries. So we know we've got LastPass dialed in to exactly the standard our company needs to feel safe and sound. I touched on the reporting that we have, but we also do have notifications. So as a function of trying to make LastPass as simple as we can for end users and save IT from undue workloads, LastPass is not only assessing the strength of users' passwords in the background, we're checking for weak, reused, compromised, old credentials. We can also notify the users automatically. They can get an automatic response from LastPass saying, hey, we've detected you've got too many weak passwords, too many reused passwords, or maybe even scarier, you have a credential in your vault that might have been compromised in a recent breach or exposure. Go ahead and change that ASAP. Now, that also includes just like we're doing security reporting, we have all of the auditing around user and admin activity as well. And I touched on multi-factor. We have our own LastPass MFA, which is pretty great, but we do support all the other major players as well. So if you do have a company, a prospect who loves their multi-factor tool, that's okay. They can use ours, but if they want to use something else, we have support for that. We have policies for it, all that sort of a thing. So what are the main value drivers for LastPass that would drive folks into the platform? Here they are. We've touched on that visibility. There is efficiency, I think, both for technicians, both for IT, who now has another tool to help them with onboarding and offboarding employees, able to get detail that they're looking for more quickly. But on the end user side, they say it takes about 30 seconds per credential that users are manually typing in, right? So there's absolutely a very real return on investment for end users that are saving time with autofill by not filling out password resets, and for IT that has fewer tickets to work on without those reset tickets coming in. And so, of course, that leads to cascading changes with reduced cost. By virtue of using a password manager, we have better security we can offer with reporting to really back that up, so we can enumerate that we're doing better with security today than we were yesterday. That phishing protection is an aspect of LastPass too. I love to bring that up because I think phishing is a thing enterprises are training users for all the time, but it's never perfect, right? They can always use more help there. So we help with that too. And our directory integrations make managing the users and groups in LastPass super simple too. Now, the rest of these we could go into in more detail, but I want to make sure that we have time to touch on some of the discovery questions for LastPass as well. So you have a sense of how do you figure out if someone might be a good fit for LastPass? Well, a good starting place is just getting a sense of how employees are managing their passwords today. That can give you a sense of, one, how real the need is and where the enterprise sees their problem. That 10 to 12 figure is an average, but quite honestly, I have a lot of folks easily double or triple that number and say it's 20, 30, 40, 50. I believe the average enterprise user has north of 200 objects in their vault, so it can be quite a lot over time. Tracking and rescinding credentials, it's more to do on the IT security side, but the whole point of that question is to make it clear to IT that they don't really have a good way to keep track of who can access what from what IP address, and the reporting in LastPass helps with exactly that. Sharing, the third question there is an easy one because there's just no good way to share via email or with a post-it note, and we can easily crush those mechanisms. A phishing measure is another great question with LastPass, because I think most folks don't realize that a password manager has that ability to only autofill credentials on bona fide, genuine pages, that where an end user might be fooled by a spoofed login page. LastPass knows the real URL that we should be autofilling on, so it's much harder to phish a LastPass user. There are single sign-on and multi-factor dimensions of LastPass. LastPass can be the identity provider. You can use our multi-factor tool for other services. So that's another great question to figure out if there may be a fit for LastPass identity, everything we can do, or just the MFA bits, or just the password bits. Shadow IT. Question number 6 there. Shadow IT is a buzzword that's very common that folks usually in the IT security community are well aware of. The reporting detail in LastPass helps them decimate that, because we can shine a bright light into those dark corners where normally we wouldn't know who can access what. If a user like Felipe, say, puts in his 2 weeks notice, how do we know we've really and truly cut him out of everything he had access to? And then finally, assessing password strength and reuse. Again, something we know is very hard to do without a tool like LastPass in the mix. We make that simple and automatic for all of the users involved. So what I'd like to do now, I can kind of quickly tease a couple of key features in using LastPass. I touched on how we have LastPass MFA as an option here. So what I'll do is I'll show you real quickly what it's like to use LastPass MFA to log in to the service, as well as once I'm into LastPass, how I would use it to go about getting into other things. So what I've done here for our demo, I've gone ahead and signed myself out of LastPass, and I brought up my phone here on screen, and I want to show real quickly what happens when I go to sign in to LastPass here and into other services. We use a master password for LastPass, but if you're using directory integrations, you might be logging in with that. When I sign in here, you'll notice I get a prompt on screen for multi-factor authentication, and on my iOS device to my right here, I've got that banner up top, verify ldilillo@logmein.com. And when I tap that notification, it brings up LastPass MFA with all this great contextual information. Our multi-factor tool knows that we only have the right user at the right time, in the right location, from the right IP address, from the right device, logging into these services. And there you can see, I really am coming from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll go ahead and tap accept here. And notice we use Face ID to confirm that the user really is who they say they are. And now I can subsequently log in to LastPass. Now I can open up my LastPass vault and log into the various services I need to get to. And sure enough, you see Evernote here and Trello. These are regular sites with a username and password that I can now access using LastPass, using auto login and autofill to make that really smooth and easy for the sites that take passwords, that use those. I'll show you another example here with Trello. This auto launch, again, we're using that bona fide URL, so really difficult to phish us for that reason. And LastPass will open that new tab and autofill accordingly. I mentioned single sign-on, and so if we have applications using SSO, I can get to those from here too. Single sign-on apps are here under Cloud Apps in LastPass. You can see I've got Meraki, I've got Dropbox, and a couple other services here. Take a look what happens when I go to log into Meraki. As opposed to going directly into that service, Meraki is where we do all of our cloud networking stuff, so it's pretty sensitive. We can trigger multi-factor again before users log into that certain service or application. So we're confirming via Face ID or Touch ID, we really have the correct person in the right place at the right time accessing these apps. So we have some clarity there. Now, there are, of course, policies we can set on the back end as an administrator to say, I only want people logging in while they're physically at work. We've got the geo lookups, we've got IP whitelisting, all sorts of abilities here to make sure that people are working when we want them to, where we want them to, and the right people addressing those things. So quite a lot that we can do to improve the authentication experience over just a vanilla username and password. And all of this really only available in the enterprise tier of LastPass, or the identity tier, if you wanted to look at single sign-on, MFA, and password management. So that is my real quick overview of using LastPass to help manage passwords in the workplace, but also single sign-on credentials and a couple of other neat ways we can smooth out that experience. I've got one more slide to show here, I think, before we kick things back over to Janae to talk about pricing and stuff. Here, let's bring up our best customers. We should be seeing that now on screen here. And actually, maybe I'll post that to Janae. Is there anything else we should touch on here before, with respect to the individual customers for these products? Well, while Janae's getting her mic situated, I will just, as an overview for this, this is looking at both LastPass and Central, best customers for IM products, and you can see some of the verticals here and the deal sizes associated with each of these, as well as the competitors to listen for too. So if you find yourself on the line with someone with these titles for a company of these sizes, and/or saying they're using these certain solutions, there's a very good chance that one of these LogMeIn products, either Central or LastPass, could really compete with those solutions that are there, and perhaps unseat them as well. So with that, I think I'll turn things back over to Janae to talk about pricing for these objects. Janae, still with us? I don't hear you. Janae, do you hear us? I've passed you presenter rights. I think you should be able to take that back over now. There we go. Looks like we're waiting for just a moment for Janae's audio to reconnect, so bear with us just a second.
Lou, while Janae is getting her audio set back up, I've got a question for you. It's actually might be more of an observation. LastPass Enterprise really seems to make bring your own device a more secure option for businesses. then
Absolutely.
so in your opinion, how is the best way to enter into a conversation to convince corporations LastPass free really does not help them secure their
Great
environment?
question. Yeah. The trick with free accounts is that they belong to the user who signed up for them. And so that's what I see as the biggest risk for an enterprise who's looking at password management, who has users who want some kind of recommendation for what to use for passwords. Free accounts are a terrific way to maybe get started, to try the features initially. Certainly a fantastic option for home use. But in an enterprise setting, if the company wants to own that account and own the credentials in the account, be able to have visibility, have reporting into what's happening with that LastPass vault, being able to ultimately offboard me at the end of the day and make sure that I don't have access to anything I still need, after my exit. An enterprise account is really the only way to do that. So that would be my starting place. If an organization really cares about control and visibility, they want to be able to enact change, they're going to have to go to the enterprise tier.
Perfect. And it looks like, Janae, are you back up on audio? I saw it go green for a moment. It looks like it just went dark again. Okay, so we're still waiting on Janae's audio. That's why we love tech, right? And that's why LastPass and Central and everything is so important. With Central, you could grab control of her computer right away and see if you can get her audio to go on, right?
We could do that. Yeah, we absolutely could do that.
Okay,
Hi
Janae, are you
there.
there?
Can you guys hear me?
We
Yes,
can
yes,
hear
we
you.
can. I'm going to
I'm
jump on the
back.
webcam, folks.
I'm back.
Till
Sorry
next
about
time.
that.
Okay, Janae, it's all yours.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. For some reason, my phone went out. But I'm back. So thank you, Lou, Felipe. You guys did a great job. Just to wrap up and be respectful of your guys' time, there's a lot of great information here that we've covered. We don't expect you to take it all in and be an expert right away. The biggest takeaway that I would have or leave you with is just have enough knowledge and understanding of the product to be dangerous, to qualify the lead and identify opportunities within your current client base. So ask some of those questions that Lou and Felipe went over. Those are crucial to just qualifying that there is a need there. And then you would register the lead with us. And then I pair you with a product specialist like Lou or Felipe. They really know the product. So we want to be involved in the sales cycle with you and your client. And then we do all the heavy lifting. So once we pair you with one of those product specialists, they work really closely with you as a co-sell model. So scheduling demos, doing the consultation, getting trials set up, and just the sales cycle and proposal from start to finish. We're working with you as the partner and the client to make sure that we do it right the first time. So once you register that lead, like I said, we pair you with that product specialist. That's not the end of the life cycle for you. Once we talk about LastPass and get your client set up, there's so much more to talk about. What are they doing? How are they meeting internally? How are they doing automated patches like Felipe talked about? What are they doing for marketing? So we have 16 products and solutions that can solve a lot of typical business problems that your clients are having. Many of your clients are probably already buying something from us. They just don't know that they can purchase through you or that you're a partner. So make sure that they know that. This is a great handout to send out to your clients and say, hey, I'm an authorized LogMeIn partner. You can buy these products through me. We can get a specialist involved. And really talk about that compelling story that we offer that Felipe mentioned, consolidating vendors. They don't have to buy from one vendor for meetings and one vendor for LastPass. And then I would encourage you to use these products. So LastPass, you can go to lastpass.com, sign up for free, and start using it. That's the best way that you're going to learn how to talk to your clients about it. And encourage them to do that as well, because it really speaks for itself. And then just going back to this slide about pricing, we don't really like to go over pricing in the webinar because that is custom built based on the client that we're working with, products that we're talking about, how many licenses, all of those things, we custom build that. So I would encourage you not to focus on price with the client and just qualify that need by asking those questions, then register that lead over to us. Because we have such a compelling story and so many products that you can offer your clients, there's a lot of opportunity here for you to make money and recurring revenue. So as a partner, you start as a 20% off of the annual value of the initial deal. So any deal that you register with us, the client makes the purchase, you would get 20%. And again, we do all that heavy lifting for you, so we really sell the product. And once you hit that gold status, you get 25% off of that initial deal, and then 10% on the renewal afterwards. So every year that client renews those products because they love them, you'll continue to get that 10%. And then when you get into platinum status, you go 30% and 20% recurring renewal revenue. So lots of opportunity to make money here. Most of your clients probably don't have a password manager right now. They're probably using those sticky notes or an Excel spreadsheet. So that's a great foot in the door to talk about what are they doing to manage their passwords. A lot of times they're not using something. So that's a really quick opportunity for you to earn money and then start on this path of LogMeIn products in our story. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Laura.
Okay, great.
Here we go.
Let me turn my video on here and share out my screen. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And I know we're running just a few minutes long. Janae, and Felipe and Lou, I just want to tell you, it was so great hearing all of this stuff because your products really fill a gap that is needed in the marketplace, and combining them along with all the other LogMeIn products that you just showed us are just a great way of supporting your networks and your client networks every day. We've got a couple of upcoming webinars coming on that you can go up to the SaaSmax website and register for. And remember, don't leave money on the table. Become a SaaSmax partner today. Reach out to Clint, to myself, to Brigant, or any other member of the team if you're interested in talking to LogMeIn about these products and getting some deals registered. I love the product suite as a former MSP. LastPass and Central are just two really great products that they offer. And if you've seen our other webinars with LogMeIn, you know that we're using GoToWebinar to run this webinar. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And Felipe, Lou, and Janae, thank you for all the great information you've given us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too.